We are live. What's up? What's up? What is up? It is the Ball Hog Sports Talk again on another Friday coming to you. Gonna bring you sports, business, and entertainment the only way we know how to do it, which is rough, rugged, and raw. It's your boy B Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth South, aka Mr. Success Celebration, aka Breezy, here with the crew. And today's episode is entitled The Hangover. If you have ever experienced a very interesting night with libations such that maybe you didn't know how to restrain yourself. Maybe they overserved you. And you have that feeling the next day. What is a hangover? A hangover is a set of symptoms that occur as a consequence of drinking too much. A consequence. Typical symptoms include fatigue, weakness, thirst, headache, muscle aches, nausea, stomach pain, all kind of things. That's how we are feeling now, knowing that this NFL season, after really 3 amazing weeks of football, playoff football. And I talked about the NFL divisional round. We talked about the conference championships. And then we saw the Super Bowl. Within 3 weeks, man, I think a total of 24 points separated the margin of victory between teams. So now we got to deal with life after football. And we also deal with some other hangovers because 2 of my homeboys, the crew, they are both celebrating birthdays this week. So with no further ado, hop on in because it's going to be the hangover episode. The drinks will be flowing. The headaches will be abound, but we going to still bring it rough, rugged, and raw because that's how we do it. Fasten your seatbelt. Another week of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Please like, comment, share. And with that, no further ado, let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw, so come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. The hangover, fellas, first and foremost, we have to say, because the crew, we do it the right way, and we don't have a song queued up. It would be the Stevie Wonder version of it. But although we don't have the music, I still would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my brother's birthdays, man. Am I my brother's keepers? Absolutely, man. We're going to start with the Big Flow Show. At the ripe old age of 29, I got you, my brother. I got you. He celebrated a birthday. That makes y'all, what are y'all? Capricorns? What are y'all? Sagittarius?
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Don't you disrespect.
Man, I didn't know.
Aquarius
is my Aquarius. You Aquarius.
Distinguished friend says.
The distinguished friends of Aquarius. So that's half of Outcast, Aquemini. The Aquariuses are in the building. We're gonna start with the Big Flow Show, who celebrated his birthday on Wednesday. Happy birthday, my brother.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I started to start the show upside down, hanging from my knees with a tight tank top on.
That's the real hangover.
That's been done this week, so I figured I would just come in here regular in my the slimming black shirt, and
there you go.
Say, happy to be here for another lap. I'm not scared to say it. I'm in my 50th lap. They wave the checker flag. Hopefully the race isn't over. It's just the first of a series of races. But I'm in my 50th lap. I'm not 50 yet, but it's there every day.
Happy 49th, then, my brother.
Man, I appreciate you.
Now you disclosed it. That's the only reason I said the number, man.
You know what?
Well, black
when
don't
you sexy, what you gotta hide for? Nobody believes it.
What's the word you use?
I'm in my 30s.
What's the word you use? The descriptive use? What's
sexy?
Sexy.
with
I'm not going to repeat that when referring to you, but if that's how
that's
you feel.
You don't have to say it. Everybody else is saying it.
Oh, everybody.
In my sex.
You don't have to state the obvious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your birthday week with us, man. Thank you for your contributions to the show. And, we have been friends in addition to the colleagues here on the show for a long time, man. So salute to you and happy birthday.
Appreciate you.
Not to be outdone in the birthday category, another Aquarius is in the building, celebrated his birthday yesterday. So the Hangover is really named for you because you just got off birthday. Your birthday was yesterday. And so ETP Ellis, the
Still
producer,
going, baby.
still going, baby. Bite the hair of the dog, whatever
That's because
that
he's
is, man.
not
Yeah.
49.
Yeah.
You are not 49. Yeah, are you in your 40s yet, ETP?
I'm in my 40s, baby.
You in your 40s, right?
My adulthood has got adulthood. So I'm 21 years into adulthood.
There we go, man.
So I should
21.
have 2 drinks right now.
There you go. I got one for you later,
One
man.
for me, one
I
for
can't
you.
do it before 10 a.m. We barely made it. The 10 a.m. cutoff is for me. I can't do a drink before 10 a.m.
As they say, it's happy hour somewhere.
It's happy hour somewhere. So you're going to sip on libations. We're going to have this hangover episode. Somehow, some way, we all were black. So you already know what it's about to be. We feeling like real grimy right now. You know what I'm saying? From the streets of Chicago and New York, baby. We about to bring it to you. Sports, business, entertainment. Here we go. But happy birthday, gentlemen. Happy Aquarius season to all those other listeners that are Aquarius people. Aries run the world, but hey, man, it's good to be second, man. It is what it is. Aquarius, baby. We gotta hop in to some of this sports, business, entertainment talk. And the first thing that sticks out is that over 112, I think, million televisions were tuned in to a particular event last week on a Sunday. It took place in Los Angeles. It took place in a stadium that goes by the moniker of SoFi. And it didn't disappoint. After a divisional round playoff weekend that was spectacular. 3 games decided on the last play by a field goal. And then the last game decided in overtime on the last play by a touchdown. And then you had 2 conference championships similarly decided by a field goal. You get to a Super Bowl, and I said, you know what? If there's ever going to be a phenomenal Super Bowl, this is going to be it. And it did not disappoint. You add to that 50 Cent hanging from the rafters in the Super Bowl show, Snoop Dogg crip walking in front of the world, Dr. Dre back on the keys, Eminem taking a knee. Some are saying it's the best halftime show ever. Not Generation Z. They didn't know who those people were. And the baby boomers were like, what in the world is happening? But there was a 15-year generational window, which all of us are in. We had a good old time doing that doggone halftime show. Was this the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls, but the halftime of all halftimes to end the NFL season of all NFL seasons? Let's hop in, guys. What do y'all think?
I think this is the best playoffs by far of any type by far, other than the ones I'm biased when the Bulls won or the Bears won. But if I take the biases away, all the games are close. They're all competitive. I think very few people, if we did a bracket like an NCAA pool, very few people would have a perfect pool. Trying to pick the opponents all the way through. It was just great. It just didn't disappoint. There was a lot of comebacks. There's a lot of great plays. I just thought it was fantastic. Halftime show, personally, I got attacked on Facebook this week because I said it was the best halftime show ever, and I was quickly informed by people that Prince could have been better. I'm a Prince fan, watched him live in concert before he passed. I love Prince, but I'm a hip-hop head till I die. So I thought that was the best halftime show that we've ever had. It's just been a great season. I'm mad it's over.
Yeah, that's why we named it Hangover, because I think we all mad that it's over. It seemed as though it couldn't get any better. On this show last week, we said because of the signs, the indications with the previous 2 weeks of football, we said that this might go down as the best Super Bowl ever from a competitive standpoint, not from a fan standpoint. Obviously, you cheering for your team. I ain't had that experience yet as a Cleveland Browns fan, but it's coming. It's coming. And ETP, you've had too many of them as a Patriots fan. But from a competitive landscape standpoint, we thought that all the signs that indicated that this might be one of the most competitive Super Bowls ever, and it did not disappoint. Right. And I don't know. I don't know if it goes down as the best ever, but it was a darn good game. Darn good game. And celebrate the good football that we saw. Hats off to both the Rams and the Bengals. The only bad news for me as a Browns fan is the Bengals look like they ain't going nowhere. That's a young, up-and-coming team with a coach that I think showed that in the big moments he's ready for prime time. ETP, what's your take on it, man? Overall, Super Bowl after a super sensational few weeks of playoff football. Doesn't it feel like this has to be a hangover, a letdown from all of the exciting, riveting things that we saw in terms of NFL football for the year? Other than diversity, we're going to get to that. Other than diversity, it's been perfect.
Yeah, I think it's crazy because it definitely in terms of the consistency of competition for the whole postseason. Usually, you'll have situations. Obviously, you said I've experienced too many Super Bowls, but even like early 2000s when the Patriots were winning a lot of championships, they were the Patriots.
Every time we go talk about the Super Bowl, somebody got to bring it.
So when they were winning,
team, are they from the Negro League?
Never heard of them. Never heard of them.
Okay,
Mac Jones. They were the team in the postseason that would always just find a way to win. It would be close, but for the most part, the landscape was pretty unbalanced, right? So there wasn't always a ton of competition. But the Patriots, whether you want to say that they did it outside the lines or inside the lines, it was always tight. It was always close. Like that's what they built their fan base on, that level of like, any given Sunday, we're going to come together. We're going to find a way to win. We're going to squeak out a victory. And you just saw that this whole postseason, every team, everybody was kind of fighting to the finish. And you saw that, for what 7 games of the past few weeks.
Photo finish. Literally a photo finish for the last, because we had a week that they throw in there between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. But for the last 4 weeks, we saw a group of photo finishes. We saw how coaching decisions or indecisions change games. We saw how special teams either, ended up making or breaking a team, a la the Green Bay Packers. Right? It literally became a game of inches in football. We talk about it from a cliche standpoint, but in the last few weeks, it's been a game of inches. Let's dig into the details of this particular Super Bowl, of this particular game, of this particular indication of a game of inches. Do you think that look, it was a great game. But at one point, when I saw Odell Beckham Jr. go down and get hurt, I felt bad for him. We'll talk about that, the resurrection duo, right? Both Odell Beckham Jr. and Matt Stafford had all the resurrection people cheering for him. And that was good because you got Detroit Lions fans that have been in their misery for a long time. New York Giants fans, I'm sorry, y'all been in y'all misery for a long time too. But there were people that were really cheering for Odell Beckham. And look, Odell Beckham also played for Cleveland and got blamed for a lot of the dysfunction in the locker room. So the people that were cheering for the resurrection story had a lot to cheer for when it came to the ring. But it looked like when Odell Beckham went down and the number 2 receiver for the LA Rams, from just a talent standpoint, no disrespect to Skronik and Jefferson, but they are a category below Odell Beckham Jr. Right? Odell Beckham Jr. was, in that first half, he was a matchup nightmare for the Bengals. It looked like the Bengals, because I call their defense so opportunistic, it looked like that the Bengals were going to pull it out. But somehow, some way, again, Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, hats off to them, and our guy Cooper Kupp, who won the MVP. Can we say earned it? We're gonna get into that too, MVP. But what a great football game. Let's talk about the football aspects before we get into the other storylines. One being the MVP. Where did you see opportunities maybe missed by the Bengals, or more importantly, opportunities seized by the Rams in winning that game? And there was a few controversial calls. I don't know. I don't like to blame the refs unless I'm the one coaching against them and they make a bad call. Then I blame the refs. But the refs had, I think, their fingerprint on this game too. There have been still shots that have shown, whether or not the pass interference should have been called against the Bengals, a 3rd and goal. Whether or not there should have been an offensive pass interference called against Jalen Ramsey when he gave up the bomb. What do you guys think? You know, I don't know. You know, T. Higgins was the touchdown that went against Jalen Ramsey, but is there a certain feeling about what we saw, and where were the inches missed by the Bengals or seized by the Rams? I'll start with you, ETP.
I mean, the whole thing with the officiating, there was some questionable calls on both sides. I don't think that it. I mean, ultimately, I don't think that it determined the outcome of the game. You know, the pass interference in the end zone or near the end zone, the missed face mask, like those things weren't consequential in the way that it determined the outcome. Obviously, it gave advantages in certain ways, but the game kind of played out. You know, the thing that I was just surprised about was the dogfight of it all, right? Like, I mean, you had a high power offense in LA. Obviously, Odell Beckham going down changed the whole dynamic. Cooper Kupp was still able to, you know, get free and get his looks. So, you know, I think all in all, everybody kind of delivered exactly how, you know, this was almost like watching a simulation. It was like, well, you know, they do the whole game simulation of who, you know, who's going to win the game. Like everything kind of happened in ways you could predict, right? Like obviously Cincinnati, their offensive line was a vulnerability going up against one of the, you know, greatest defensive ends in that front line. That obviously ended up being the determining factor at the end of the game. And you know, Burrow actually almost completed a pass before that 4th and 1
which was crazy. The fact that he got that pass off,
and it was a good pass, like it was legitimate. Pass. I'm surprised it didn't complete, right? Like I got to look at the receiver. I know it was definitely just a
running bailout. It was a check down. It was a run down.
Yeah, it was a check down.
And he was surprised that the ball got to him.
But he could have made a play on it, which was crazy, right? So the game might not have even ended at that point. So I think it's, you know, it literally just kind of played out as a as a simulation.
If Aaron Donald gets that sack, the Bengals break the record, not the record that you want to break, for giving up the most sacks in a Super Bowl. If Aaron Donald solidifies that sack,
almost broke the record,
right? If Aaron Donald solidifies that sack, and I want y'all just hold on to this. I'm gonna get you, Big Flo, in terms of just the game and the flow of the game. Big Flo, pun intended. But if Aaron Donald gets that sack, I think he secures the MVP as well. Right? So,
but does that change anything really? Like,
how does it not? Winning a game on that sack?
But he made the play. Regardless, he made the play, right?
So you're saying even with that, because I'm still a little bit confused about, and I love Cooper Kupp. The wide receiver position should be revered. Y'all should literally pick us up and walk us into rooms as we come in. We are just some bad motherfuckers. If you ever met a wide receiver, his swag is going to be impeccable. You feel what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He's going to be magnetic. When he walks in a room, it's going to...
His drip going to be silly.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, we poop out ice cream, baby. That's just who we are as receivers. You know what I'm saying? But in being fair and objective, I thought Aaron Donald should have won MVP. We'll get into that. But prior to getting into that, what do you think, Big Flo Show? Like, where are the opportunities missed? When we look at those games of inches, because, you know, look, I like Zach, but Zach came up short. And getting to a Super Bowl is not – that's not going to happen. Say again?
Zach who?
The coach, the Bengals coach.
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor. I like Zach. Zach, he's a Lego maniac. But you know, there were some missed opportunities, and Sean McVay took the brunt of his missed opportunities. You know, when he got to the big dance before, he's missed some opportunities. So does Zach take a little bit of the heat, or is it just, it was one of them things that someone had to lose, and unfortunately this time it was the Bengals, because getting to the playoffs is hard enough, let alone getting to a Super Bowl. We want to think and assume that Joe Burrow will be there several times in his career. But who knows, man? You can't predict that type of stuff with injuries.
Talk to Joe Marino or Dan Marino,
right? It's like you never know. So what, I'll give you the last word in terms of the football aspects of it. Where are the opportunities missed from an X's and O's standpoint? And then let's hop into, I want to call it the politics of the MVP decision in terms of the Super Bowl. But you know, because there was another defensive player that I think should have won it before. But go ahead. I'll let you talk about the X's and O's first.
I mean, I look at it like this. So first I'll talk about the officiating. The linebackers call, I mean, people who say that wasn't pass interference, they have to say it's an asterisk. They say, well, you know, it's a linebacker. We should let that go. It's just a little bit of touching. if the ref calls pass interference, you got to go with it. He grabbed the man by the hip. He gained an advantage. He turned him. It's still pass interference. Would I have thrown the flag on that? Maybe not. It's a tough call, but either way you go, you got to ride with it. If they let it go, okay, fine. They call it go. The pass interference not called offensive on Jalen Ramsey. That call it would have to be the perfect position for the ref to see it. He's going by, and he in one motion he flies by him, and he happens to get his face mask. I think he's going to lose his balance anyway if he doesn't get his face mask hit anyway. I don't think it's such a weird thing that people don't really do that I can't fault the ref for not really seeing it. I mean, he was off balance. Otherwise, a face mask shouldn't have made him fly out of the way like that. He didn't grab his face mask that hard. I mean, you're 200-pound defensive back. Someone touching your face mask like that shouldn't make you fly if you weren't already off balance and probably not going to make the play anyway. So that's my point there. So I'll leave that alone. Missed opportunities. You can't let – Cooper Kupp is an amazing receiver. But when Odell goes out and you can't stop Kupp and they're just forcing the ball to Kupp left and right and you can't stop him, you talked about the coaching. I mean, Apple needs help or he needs to come out. I mean, he was out there getting killed.
Doesn't it seem like karma, though? Because Apple had a lot to say before the Super Bowl. He talked about the fan bases and the previous organizations he had played for, both the Giants and the Saints. He talked about players. He called them out. He talked about Hartman and Tyreek Hill from Kansas City was basically like, nanny, boo-boo, go home. And he got exposed. Apple got completely exposed. It felt like karma when it came to Eli Apple.
You said you mentioned before MVP. I would have to give it to Apple if I was the Rams. I would have to give him the MVP. I mean, if you think about it, he was involved in every touchdown.
Every touchdown. He was involved in every touchdown.
Every touchdown. So I mean, I think you got to give it to him. But from a coaching standpoint, you got to realize. No offense to Skoranek, whatever. You gotta let the chips fall where they may with him. You gotta stop Kupp. He's the MVP. He's the best receiver the season we've had for a long time. You cannot let him beat you when Odell is out of the game.
The 49ers,
I felt like literally they didn't make him pay. Odell left the game, and you didn't feel like they didn't make him pay. They
didn't make him pay at all. The 49ers had literally left Ben Skoranek wide open 2 weeks prior in the NFC Conference Championship game. He dropped a touchdown. And I've never been in that position as a receiver on the stage of a Super Bowl. So I'm not here to criticize. What I'm here to say. I've never
been wide open, but what'd you say?
I've never been wide open in the NFC Conference Championship game. I've never been wide open in the Super Bowl. Other than that, I'm always wide open.
What do you mean? It's like you added too many caveats. You always open, dog. You are always open. It don't matter where you are, dog.
So I hesitate.
Even on Sunday, when Christmas falls on a Sunday, you are always open.
But what I will say is this: is that as a coach, I'm thinking that I'm going to put bracket coverage on Cooper Kupp. And bracket coverage, for those of us who might not know what that terminology means, it means I'm basically putting two people on Cooper Kupp. I'm going to bracket him. I'm going to have someone underneath to make sure that whatever they're throwing, because that 3rd and long where they throw the dig route, I mean, he's wide open, and I just feel as though if you have bracket coverage of some form, at least you have a man underneath, because Cooper Kupp is that good. Leave Ben Skoranek open. Right, leave Jefferson open.
Make him beat you.
Make him beat me. And I just felt as though they missed the opportunity when Odell Beckham Jr. went down. I feel bad for him. The calls, I feel as though there's got to be some mechanism where we have to penalize the referees. And I know there's human error in it, but human error seems to dissipate a bit when you touch on somebody's pockets, or when there's like a public censure or some form of consequence to the human error. I mean, you're trying to make the game safer.
There's always consequence. Like every game, every call has some consequence, right? Like,
I mean, personal consequence. You don't even know the referee's name who missed the call. And what I'm saying is
publicly shame him.
I think so. I think so. Because
like Game of Thrones, walk naked while people say shame.
Hey, whatever it is, man. Throw eggs at him at his house, something. What I'm saying is, him or her. We have women refs
was there
now
one
too.
ref that night?
There was not that night. I don't think. I don't remember. I don't know the crew. But what I'm saying is that you're trying to make the game safer, and a referee allowed an offensive pass interference such that a man's face mask got yanked. A referee called a pass interference on a very crucial third and goal that is questionable at best. There's going to be contact in the red zone because there's only so much space that you have. Did he pull the jersey? Yes. Was it so definite that it should have been a pass interference? I'm not certain.
So you want him shamed for that?
I want him called
it, and he should be shamed for that.
Yes, because we all know that if the same receiver drops a pass, we call him out. If Eli Apple is being called out right now, the only people not being called out are the referees by name. And I just think we got to add some component of it, or the referees are going to get away with what could be highway robbery, bloody murder, and game-changing calls or missed calls. Like the referee in that same, like there are times where I think the referee should be called out, or it's got to be a mechanism such that they're fined, and then the fine itself is described. I don't want people going to their house because there are some crazies out there. But I do want to know when the human error has impacted the game, and I want to know who that human is, because I think if we know who it is, if they're fined for their inadequacies, then we'll have less calls that impact games.
Yeah, but it doesn't that creates an incentive of silence, right? Where you're like, I don't want to make the wrong call, so I'm not going to make a call. And sometimes the no call has more consequence than the call, right? So if you're trying to say, because you did it, now we're going to fine them because they didn't make the call, like
on both sides.
I think that's just holding them to a standard that is, I mean, it's beyond human capability, right? Like there's just, it's like getting a fine every time you drop a pass, right? Like you're not going to be 100% accurate every single time.
I think you do get fined every time you drop a pass, because the color commentator says he should have caught that, and says,
yeah, but the check still clears. Like,
well, fine, don't touch their pockets, but let's call them to the stage and say, hey, man, like. You're right. I don't think it's gonna incentivize them to make a no call, but I think no call should be called out too. I'm talking about the offensive pass interference where a man's helmet gets.
Sound like you whining, but it sound like you're a Bengals fan whining to me.
A little bit.
I'm just listening a little bit.
No, I'm definitely not a Bengals fan. I'm a Browns fan.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
I mean, did the refs decide the game?
This isn't like the Steelers thing where they didn't go. The guy intentionally pass interfered with the guy and didn't do anything. You're talking about a small tug, some gamesmanship tug of the face mask, which turned out to be great. And you're talking about a pass interference that you think he shouldn't have called, but it was a pass interference by the book of anyone who sees it. He grabbed the man, twisted the man, or some people say it could have been defensive holding. I don't give a damn. It's a flag. And you want shame. You want these people to be publicly ridiculed,
stoned,
and be on the wall. Get out of here.
Yeah,
stop it.
I want to make them do wall sits in front of the whole stadium. Right, you stay right here, do wall sits in front of everybody, because you're messing up games, man. You don't even know their name. They go miss a call and go home and chill, eat some Popeyes with their feet up and a cold beer. No, man, you just messed up the Super Bowl. We need to know who you are. Call him to the stage. Give him Donkey of the Day.
Charlamagne, give Donkey like Eli Apple or whatever Apple's first name is.
Yeah, I want them to feel the same way Eli Apple does. Eli Apple has to sleep on his left side because his right side been kicked in by everybody. I mean, he been getting his back kicked in.
He was a first rounder. He's from Ohio State, right?
He went to Ohio State. Yeah,
like a first round. It's a big time name.
All right, so listen.
But on the flip side,
what's his name got stolen on too though? Let's we giving him some breaks because they won the Super Bowl.
Jalen
Ramsey.
But the flip side, that's what I was gonna say. On the flip side, like Joe Burrow was like, if I'm gonna win this, and maybe it was the play calling, but the Bengals, Joe Burrow, like that's just how cold this dude is. He's like, if I'm gonna win this, I'm gonna go through the hardest door. Like I'm going after Jalen Ramsey all game. Like he didn't shy away from that at all.
Jalen Ramsey had a good. This is
23 years old. Like I don't care.
But Jalen Ramsey still had a good game. That's the interesting thing about playing cornerback. He had a good game. He got scored on, but look, it's like a shot blocker to get dunked on.
There's no island. There was no island in that game.
Jalen Ramsey had a very good game, and if I'm saying net who won, I'm taking that. Like, you're gonna give up some plays, and I think that's what's very interesting about the Jalen Ramsey career, because people stay away from him for so long that you don't even realize his imprint on the game. Right. To Joe Burrow's credit, he did not stay away from Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey did his part and then some. He made plays when he needed to. Jalen Ramsey does have what I would call the best assists in all of football, a phenomenal defensive lineman. All those high school DBs out there, go to whoever has the best defensive line, because that helps you in your coverage. But Jalen Ramsey stepped up and did his part. I think that net, they got their money's worth out of Jalen Ramsey. They got their money's worth out of Von Miller. They got their money's worth out of Aaron Donald. They got their money's worth out of Matt Stafford. They got their money's worth out of Cooper Kupp. But now you got a team that is bare of picks. They sold their entire franchise in terms of the future and draft picks in order to get this team that was ready to win now. Where do the Rams go from here? Where do the Rams go? The GM wore a shirt that says F them picks as sort of a slight to people that says, yeah, but now what do you do because you don't have any draft picks? Where do the Rams go from here? Is it an instant downfall before we get into MVP talk? Yes or no? Is it over? Aaron Donald said on the microphone in front of all 20 people, LA, y'all got to support your team a little better than that, but said that he might come back, provoked by Sean McVay. So maybe they try to go back-to-back, which is difficult, but it seems as though there's really not a lot of future here. Yes or no? Were they right to build now for a Super Bowl and instead of building for long term? Yes or no before we get into the MVP conversation?
They say tomorrow isn't promised. So let's win a Super Bowl today. I think some famous person said that. So at the end of the day, yeah, they mortgage it all to win a Super Bowl right now. Mortgage it all because you just came to LA, you're getting new, you're trying to get people on the fan, you're trying to sell them out, trying to get season tickets. You have no time like the present. So I mean, they didn't build as much, something like with Odell Beckham. They ended up with Odell. They didn't go out to try to find him. You know, he ended up being in need and wanting to get out of some place, so they went and got him. But like,
don't do that. Don't be that disrespectful to a Browns fan. Don't do that. Not this morning. Like, I know it's your birthday week, but get out of a place. Like, come on, bro. We ain't gotta do that. I'm happy for Odell, but you ain't gotta. I'm just saying that's disrespectful. You know what I mean?
So anyway, they picked up a guy. They helped him out. He was homeless, and he had to be rehomed. But they didn't. I don't want to give them credit, too much credit for building like that with some pick that they went out and found him. They just, they got a guy who was looking for work. They found him and they picked him up. But yeah, okay. How many teams have you seen mortgage the future and not make it? So they mortgage, they won. It's fine. So if they lose next year, most people don't repeat it into the Super Bowl anyway. So just like everybody else.
Last team that did it was, I think, 03, 04, something like that. The Patriots. It's been a while. It's been a long time since that's happened. And, it's definitely not something that happens. So you one of those guys in Monopoly that once you have a situation, you're going to mortgage it all for that one Monopoly. It works when people hit your property. It worked this time when people hit your property, but not so much when you think of the long term. You think it was a good thing too from a business perspective, ETP, before we get into this MVP conversation? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, they got a nice new stadium. They relocated. There's a whole lot of expectation in terms of what this organization was going to do, and they got to win. They got to. I mean, they're it's Hollywood. you gotta show up. You gotta represent. So it's the only way they had to do it. The problem is, I don't think for the short or long term. I think they're at a deficit now. Even Tampa Bay, they brought as many people back as they could, and they couldn't repeat. So you're looking at this situation.
They could have. That was my cousin. Them Antonio Brown distraction was really.
They could have, but they didn't. Point being,
you're right.
But so we're talking about a situation where they're not bringing in any new talent. Maybe Beckham's off the who knows how long he's out. Von Miller's pretty much.
It's like
done.
The worst time to tear your ACL too.
Yeah, it's the worst.
The Super Bowl is like you have.
At least he caught a touchdown before he went down. At least
you know what? It's both the best and the worst time. Yeah. Worst time from a rehab and recovery standpoint to get back in time for the season. Best time because he can say that his ring he had an imprint on the game and did something in the game. And that
he made a big play. That was big. That was big, right? Like huge. Without that touchdown, and it wasn't. They didn't win by 15. They didn't win by 19. They won by 3 points. So that touchdown was of consequence, right? So he helped his legacy and his brand really well. But I don't see them being able to come back. There's not enough of a core that they'll be able to keep in place. And even Aaron Donald's like, if we bring everybody back, I'm back. All right, that's not going to happen. Like, you might as well just never happen.
Right. Should Aaron Donald, who at least one of our amazing listeners, and this would be a perfect time to say, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to the podcast. My man Glass Bart, what's up, good bro? Says Aaron Donald is the greatest defensive tackle to ever play. I love that. But the greatest defensive tackle to ever play, according to Glass Bart, did not win the Super Bowl MVP. This harkens back, for me, back to the Giants in whatever Super Bowl that was against whatever that team is in New England, who didn't win when Justin Tuck didn't win the MVP. I felt like they could have even given it to the entire defensive line. Same thing true here. Cooper Kupp, well, I think Cooper Kupp had a great game. Right? Cooper Kupp does not have a single catch without an offensive line that protects, a quarterback that was I think, phenomenal in terms of his play in the Super Bowl. It just seems too many contingencies related to him having success for him to win the Super Bowl MVP. That's why that's not commonplace where a wide receiver will win an MVP in the Super Bowl. Now, Matt Stafford did have 2 interceptions.
That same logic, how does a quarterback ever get it then?
Say again?
Under the same logic, how does the quarterback ever win the MVP? No one needs more people than the quarterback.
Take one contingency out, and you still have that Cooper Kupp does not score without Matt Stafford throwing on the ball.
Matt Stafford doesn't throw a touchdown without Cooper Kupp catching it, or the line blocking, or the running back carrying out the fake, or the play call. And
the defense keeping the Bengals off the field.
I just don't see how a wide receiver wins MVP when, in addition to the 2 touchdowns that he threw to Cooper Kupp, he threw another touchdown to Odell Beckham Jr. In addition to the touchdowns, he kept drives alive with an amazing throw on 3rd and long to win the game. I'm not advocating for Matt Stafford to have won it. What I'm saying is I would have understood Matt Stafford under the logic that got Cooper Kupp the MVP. I would have understood Matt Stafford much more than Cooper Kupp. And oh, by the way, to me, they're 2nd and 3rd because Aaron Donald should have won the MVP of the doggone Super Bowl. He dominated the defensive line in terms of his play. He dominated from a defensive line perspective. The biggest, most pivotal play of the game was him single-handedly saying, "You can't block me." And he said it. He's like, "I was 4th down." The coach said 4th down, Aaron Donald's going to make this play. The whole world, in the second half, they could do nothing because Aaron Donald said, "Okay, enough's enough." Like, from an interior defensive lineman perspective, it's the likes of something we haven't really seen. We've seen the DNs or, the rush linebackers make plays from a wide 9, but to be in the throes of the trenches, to be constantly double teamed. Their entire offensive line was geared from a protection standpoint to double team, or a running back coming up the chip. That, for those of us who are listening that might not understand the X's and O's of it, they're basically always double teaming him, either from an alignment with a center coming over or a running back coming up to get some form of a chip to help out the offensive lineman. With that being said, he was unblockable. That man should have won the MVP. I just think so, and I ain't got no problem with Cooper Kupp. I love the story. I love his resilience. I love the fact that his wife was the one who stood by him. It's a beautiful story, man. It's a beautiful story. But that doesn't mean he should have won the MVP. Am I wrong? Make me believe that I'm wrong. It sounds like you were about to try to convince me that I'm wrong, Big Flo Show. Go ahead. Make me believe I'm wrong. I think Aaron Donald should have won it hands down. It shouldn't have been close.
I think it's a momentum thing, and it's it's kind of hard. I mean, no one goes down and really breaks it down by stats and this, that, and the other. Cooper Kupp had an amazing season. You know, he had a great year. So when you go in there, they want to give it to certain people, right? They want to, if this person does enough, he's going to get it. You know, Tom Brady goes into a Super Bowl, even if he throws some picks, even if the defensive players get an interception to win the game, they kind of want to give it to Tom, and it's his to lose. I think Cooper Kupp was the guy on the offensive team that people really want to give it to. But I'm going to say he stepped up. Odell goes down. He's still fighting to get open. He's going against, you know, Apple, who've been running his face, making catches, doing what he's got to go do anyway, drawing pass interference against linebackers. He's doing different things he got to do to keep the drive alive. But if he would have given it to Aaron Donald, I would have made the same argument that he did this great things. I think at the end of the day, the MVP, I mean, football is the ultimate team game, right? Offense, defense, you got 11 on both sides. You know, you're not going to win a championship by a short margin of victory unless everybody does something. There's going to be standouts. So
Fair.
It's one of those things where it's like, kind of, who cares? Get over it. I think if Aaron Donald would have won, it would have been fantastic. I'm a humongous Aaron Donald fan. When the Super Bowl started, I said, I want to see Aaron Donald win the Super Bowl. I'm not thinking about anybody else out there, but I want to see him win the Super Bowl. So if he'd have got it, been great. If he didn't, Cooper Kupp, nothing to complain about. He had a great game. You know, great game, great season. We all know the MVP has a popularity aspect to it.
He's the 8th receiver to be named Super Bowl MVP. And first receiver to win the Super Bowl MVP who did not lead all receivers in receiving yards.
I think the hard part about Aaron Donald was, so in receiving yards, who it was
I'm assuming it had to be
it was him.
He led the Rams in receiving yards for sure because Odell Beckham was right.
Higgins had 100. Higgins had 100. Kupp had 92.
Right.
But did Higgins, is he the one that got the face mask touchdown?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he had one. How many was it? 80 yards?
That wasn't an 80-yard. It was probably about 50.
It was 75.
Was it 75 yard?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Because it was after it was a momentum change. It was after a
one play.
But I think the thing with Aaron Donald that's tough. Like, I agree. I think, you know, he should have at least been in the conversation. I think he was in the conversation. I think potentially what happened, I mean, he and Von Miller's statistics were nearly identical, right? 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, like almost identical. Aaron Donald had, I think, 2 more tackles, 4 tackles to 2 tackles. So it's like, it's hard to.
Again, though, you're
no, I understand. I understand the intangibles and the schemes and how much of a focus there is on Aaron Donald versus how much there is on Von Miller. I'm just saying, like, if Odell Beckham's still in the game and he catches 87 yards and Cooper Kupp catches 92 and each of them has a touchdown, you know, like if it becomes a little bit more balanced where there's a direct positional comparison, does it then just go to Stafford, right? Like, that's, I think, where the Aaron Donald argument starts to have some challenge to it, because there was another player on the field in the same position ultimately that had very similar statistics, obviously totally different dynamic, but when you make that comparison, it doesn't stand out in the same way as an individual when there's somebody on the court, on the field, that's doing statistically the same thing.
And you already gave credibility to this, but if you go half by half, I definitely say that the best receiver in the first half for the LA Rams was not named Cooper Kupp.
Absolutely not. Beckham Jr. Absolutely not. Not even close.
And so I don't know. Look, MVP is, I think, becoming a popularity contest. You know, Kupp joined Joe Montana, who in 1989 is the only player to win the Associated Press Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl MVP in the same season. So I think going in, knowing that Cooper Kupp was the Offensive Player of the Year, knowing that indeed there was an amazing storyline. I think going in, Cooper Kupp, they didn't all start at 0. Cooper Kupp started with +3, right? He had 3 votes by walking into the game. But that makes it a popularity contest. And it is the ultimate team game, so maybe we just do without the Super Bowl MVP. But, you know, and we see the same thing in the NBA. When we look at the championship MVP, a lot of times it's like, what? Like the year that Andre Iguodala won, I was like, what? How does Iguodala win the MVP? And it's baffling to me. Aaron Donald's career. Aaron Donald's career, because we had someone earlier in the comments in the live audience say that Aaron Donald is the best defensive player, or they say DN. He's more of a D tackle. He's a
defensive tackle. You can't say
more. Did they say D tackle? I don't remember what the comment was.
Yeah, it
but
was
they said the best, greatest defensive tackle ever. Okay, Glasspart said. Some might argue that pound for pound, he's the greatest defensive player ever. Not even putting it by position. And I say that because if you look at his body of work, in 8 seasons, he has had 7 straight first-team All-Pro selections. He has been 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. One could argue that he should have won it again this year, but 3 times.
Tied for most ever.
Tied for most ever with LT and JJ Watt. JJ Watt, not TJ Watt. JJ Watt. He was the 2014 Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. And he's been playing 8 seasons. And I ain't no mathematician, but percentage-wise, that's 100%. I'm good enough to do that math on the spot.
I could figure that one out without using my hands and feet.
I ain't going to be confused for nobody's quant job. But I got that one. 8 for 8 is 100%.
That's advanced analytics right there.
But you got 3 degrees, two advanced degrees.
Your degrees.
Don't sell yourself short.
I'm just
not everybody would get that right. Just so you know.
Not everybody, right? Especially on the spot. So I'll take my bow now. But 100% every year he's been, he's done it every year. Gone to the Pro Bowl and now a Super Bowl champ. And he sure enough, he sure enough had his fingerprints on this Super Bowl. He hoisted it up. And again, I think he should have won Super Bowl MVP, but I digress.
My namesake, real quick though, Shane Ellison just mentioned something. You got to watch Reggie White. I still got to give him the nod over Donald.
He's completely dominant.
Reggie White, rest in peace.
As dominant. Yeah, absolutely. Reggie White, I think,
so
greatest to ever do it. I don't think it's ever going to be a conversation. Really, it's
Aaron Donald's in the conversation.
No. But the hard thing about Aaron Donald, it's super impressive that he's done all this in a short period of time. But then at the same time, it's like in my book, longevity plays a pretty substantial factor in terms of where you land in the lexicon, right? Like if you got to have some longevity. He's basically has half a career at this point, right? And so if he walks away now, it would be really hard for me to say that's the greatest defensive lineman that's ever played.
If he walks away today,
that's what I'm saying. Bruce Smith, Warren Sapp played 13 seasons.
But you know what? I was going to tell you the D tackle argument. Warren Sapp was a goon. He was a goon.
No way. No,
Aaron Donald is such a goon, though. I don't want to take away to make it seem like he's not doing it. He's doing it, but when we I want to make sure we know that there is a conversation to be had. It's not just like hand him the sticks.
But I think the other part of it too is
Warren Sapp. I couldn't make that argument. Look, Warren Sapp
was a beast.
He was a beast for a long time. But Warren Sapp, from his defensive tackle position, did what most zero technique players do.
No,
they control the interior. They could not most. I'm sorry, most dominant defensive tackle, the Vince Wolf of the world. Right, there are 2 gappers that are preventing you from running the ball.
No, he was first of all. You're already wrong, and you should be disbanded. He was not a 2 gapper. He was a 1 gapper.
Fine, I'm cool. I would admit that I'm wrong.
Such a difference. You're a receiver. You don't know.
Either way, he did not do what Aaron Donald did.
Okay, so
he did not do what Aaron Donald did, meaning that Aaron Donald was, first of all, Aaron Donald is a 3, or if you're going for it on 4th down, 4-down player. Vince Wilfork and a lot of Warren Sapp's career was not.
Vince Wilfork, that's a two gapper, big stuffer. I'm not giving it to him.
That's a nose.
They're very similar in their way of they're high energy, can't get your hands off me type guys. And they go in there. So Warren Sapp, Super Bowl champ, 4-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team. Okay, 17 Pro Bowl, all deck. Okay, so he never won MVP. But he had off the field stuff. You couldn't give him MVP because he always
Warren Sapp was a good player. Warren Sapp is not Aaron Donald. He was never Aaron Donald.
So is there something to be said about the changes in the game, right?
Man,
Like
we're gonna give BY some look too.
it's a
Shout out to
pass.
Bryant Young for
It's
making
much
that
more
play.
pass heavy.
BY
right?
has more longevity than all of them. If you're talking about longevity,
13.
because that seems to be playing a role in your Warren Sapp conversation. BY had more longevity than
Charles
BY.
Haley. Like there's some names, dog.
There's some names, but Aaron Donald,
Leroy
man.
Glover.
If you're gonna penalize him for being smarter, because while the game has changed on the field, the game has also changed off the field. He's gotten paid more. There's more information about the health concerns, and so if this man wants to do other things, then let's not penalize him for being smart enough to know when to walk away. Because a lot of the people that you're naming have had a lot of challenges from a physical standpoint and transitioning. Right?
Sure.
Aaron Donald is also intellectually, in terms of opportunity. To me, he sees the world more than just being a defensive tackle, and you can't penalize him for that. Because
I'm not penalizing. I'm just saying in the conversation of GOAT of anything, longevity is a variable. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not.
So you penalize. He's on the
Mount. He's on the Mount Rushmore. No question.
You penalize Barry Sanders for walking away early.
How many seasons did Barry get?
I mean, 11.
Barry walked away from the graveyard of Detroit, just like Matt Stafford. Like he walked away from a graveyard.
I can't fault anybody who retires from Detroit.
Right.
You gotta put that. You gotta add a couple years.
He walked away from a graveyard.
Let's not get it twisted. I'm not saying Aaron Donald is not the greatest.
He played
very
10
well
years.
might be the greatest defensive tackle of all time. But let's not. I just feel it's disrespectful to the position to make it seem like it's not even a question. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I don't intend to be disrespectful to the position. But when I look at those numbers, that in 8 years, in the year you won Rookie of the Year, you were also a Pro Bowler. Right? That alone, right? Micah Parsons did it this year, but that alone just puts you in a whole different category. Normally, you give you the Rookie of the Year because you're not there yet. Right?
That was created because you couldn't make the Pro Bowl.
Right. Like that's what the
that's what it was for. Yeah, you're right.
You didn't
like the Pro Bowl, but you're pretty good for a young.
I'm good with that.
Get your weight up.
I'm about to rock out. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to rock out. I'm going to the Pro Bowl. I'm going to win the Rookie of the Year, and I'm going to dominate for every year that I'm on the field. I just think that he's kind of set the bar at a point where I haven't seen anybody that dominant. And I was a big time Ray Lewis fan. And I know that we're going to the linebacker position. We've moved away from the defensive line if I bring in Ray Lewis. But I gotta say Ray Lewis, or I gotta go more out to the defensive end position and go LT when I try to compare him to anybody that's been as dominant as a defensive player. I don't think Warren Sapp, while a very good defensive tackle, I don't think Warren Sapp's in that category where he was that dominant. Aaron Donald has been
Reggie White.
I don't care. Reggie White. I'm not like there's nothing. Unless Aaron Donald plays 5 more seasons. I'm not having a conversation about Reggie White. I'm not having a conversation about Reggie White because if Reggie White got as many pass reps as Aaron Donald, like it's a different game, dog.
Right.
Like the amount of pass reps that
and
like Reggie White probably got what half, 2/3 of the amount of pass rushes that Aaron Donald gets. I'm not saying Aaron Donald's not great. I'm talking statistically, Reggie White game changer. But the amount of ball running that happened in the 80s and 90s versus what happens today, the statistics are not apples to apples.
Fair. I'll give you that.
When did we go 16 games? Did Reggie White get a couple 12-game seasons in there?
No. He ain't that old.
When did we get
Reggie White 16 games? He passed, but that's very fair, man. I don't know, man. It's just Aaron Donald to me. Look, at least he has.
He's on the Mount Rushmore. He's already on the Mount Rushmore. I'm never gonna take that from him.
He may even be saying grace.
Yeah,
but it's people at the table. That's what we're trying to say. He's not eating by himself. He can't have all the chicken.
He does not have the crown. He does not have the crown.
All right, well, Aaron Donald, man, you got one vote for me. If I'm putting you like I just from a domination standpoint, it's just like, whoa, man, this dude is really freaking dominant from a position that normally you can scheme against, right? We saw in the Super Bowl where they were trying to chip. We saw in the Super Bowl where they were trying to move a protection such that he had help. Right? Spain got killed. They were trying to bring the center over. There was nothing that he could do. There was nothing that the offense coordinator could do to avoid that man. And that's really rare from a defensive tackle position. I can't do nothing to get away from you. 4th down, to win the game, and everybody in the entire world knows, mama, here come that man, and ain't nothing we can do about it.
True. But also the least effective offensive line in the Super Bowl potentially ever, dog.
Fair.
That's what give it out. They were one sack away from being all-time worst blocking.
They were 7.9999. We only go in increments of one. We only use units of one. But that was 7.99999. Joe Burrow had to do the unthinkable for them not to break that record and get that pass out.
It's so terrible.
But what a great season, man. I want to give you the GOAT status as a defensive player, man, because I really like what Aaron Donald did this year. But I gotta accept that, yeah, man, there are some other players out there. So I'll go with that one. Let's talk about the halftime performance.
Shane Elson got a man crush. He's trying to say he got the best physique of all time. And a defensive lineman with a better physique. You already know.
Aaron Donald had his shirt off at the Super Bowl parade. LA, y'all got to do better, though, man. There wasn't enough people there for me, right?
That's why people keep leaving. LA keep getting a chance. People just leave. I mean, the Raiders went down there twice, right? The Rams were there already once. They left. LA just don't care, man.
They won a Super Bowl at home. They brought you all this money. LA is back. You got, even if I just felt as though that Super Bowl parade was the weakest in a long time. It's like, now we cool. Y'all enjoy
Chicago.
They didn't have to fight the element.
Chicago Sky, the WNBA parade.
Yeah, that definitely looked like,
a 3-on-3 league.
No shade, but it looked like a WNBA championship parade. There's no way.
Respectfully,
because the world has not come to know the WNBA like me. So
it's cold in Chicago. That's the only reason why I wouldn't a lot of people.
It's warm out there. Aaron Donald is shirtless.
It was July, dog.
It was July. The best is he doesn't care.
You got no excuse to not be there. Halftime performance. Is this the greatest? You said Prince, but to be back in our element, I thought it was a good job. Eminem, of all the performers, the only white performer, was the one who took a knee. I thought it was cool to see him take a knee. He has been outspoken when it comes to the issues related to the NFL. The NFL still has issues, but I thought the halftime show was done pretty well. I don't know what Jay-Z's role was in choreographing the halftime show, and I had to remember that 50 was linked to Dr. Dre and Eminem, because in this West Coast, well, Mary J's not West Coast, but other than Mary J, the crooner, R&B singer, other than Mary J, it was an all West Coast deal. And then here pops up 50 upside down, literally. He took some heat for his physique, talking about Aaron Donald.
It looked real fool.
I just think he wore the wrong shirt.
But like it was a post-Thanksgiving Day concert. Like he had already eaten.
He just ate, bro.
He wore the Christmas gift he got 10 years ago.
And people got mad at Snoop for smoking a doobie. That's what they called it back in the day.
Yeah.
The reefer.
Back in my day.
He was smoking.
A nickel bag costs a nickel.
Here's the thing is, how can you get mad at Snoop Dogg for smoking weed? That's like getting mad at a shark for biting you in the water.
Nobody gets mad at Snoop Dogg for doing anything. People
had something to say. It was like it was unprofessional to be sitting there.
He's not a professional. He's a rapper.
But you could crip walk and you could dress as a bandana. It's all good.
I know. You can come gang affiliated.
You can signal all the gangs you want.
But don't
smoke illegal. Don't smoke any illegal substances. Legal.
They did have Kendrick take out Pyru and Crip.
Right.
The mention of Pyrus and Crips before his songs. They did have a few. It was. I don't want to call it censoring, but that's what it was. They did censor the content a little bit, but for the most part, we got what we thought we were going to get from those artists. We're going 0 to 10. We're giving it a grade. I'm gonna give it a 9.9. It wasn't a perfect 10, but I give it a 9.9, and it's hard to do because halftime show comes with such high expectations. I like Beyonce's halftime show, and other people, might laugh at me that I see your Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem, and I match you with Beyonce, but Beyonce rocked it too.
The year with Beyonce and Bruno Mars together, like as far as performers go, as pure performers, like that for me, this last Super Bowl doesn't even compare to that. And then you talk about Prince, where the best story of all of it is it started pouring rain right before Prince goes on, and they come in and they're like, "Hey, so we're gonna need you to like unplug your instruments, this and that." He's like, "It's raining. Do you still want to?" He turns around to the producer and says, "Can you make it rain harder?" And he goes out and crushes it. So
this shit was good though.
That's it.
It was good. You know what? I think it's just for me playing ball in an era where all you heard was like, I don't even know the name of the groups, but heavy rock music or whatever. And like, it was just never
Guns N'
anything
Roses,
that got us.
AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, those
all that kind of stuff. Hearing it, you just fucking hating hearing that stuff. If you like that music, God bless you. But I hated hearing it. And I mean, you're in the stadium and you're thinking about it. Even high school days, and you're like, and nobody in here cares about what I want to hear, right? So to come full circle and to go get some rap, and then to go you skip the mumble rappers that were easily available, right? And you go back to the era that we liked it. I was like, I'm watching a Super Bowl that's now Prince obviously caters to me, but to say 100%, like I'm looking at this, everybody who's out here, I like all the artists. Mary out there looking like she shouldn't really be wearing that outfit no more, but I appreciated her for doing it. I don't know. I think it symbolized a lot, and I liked a lot of kind of where it was. I liked it. I thought it was a great show.
I thought it was a great show too, and I love the memes afterwards because they say 50 Cent looked like a whole dollar.
The best one about that, it was like if you need an example of what inflation is, 50 cents is now $1.50.
That's fantastic. I didn't hear that one. I wish we could pull that one up. The internet is undefeated.
Undefeated, man. You put yourself out there and you better believe, And the person who came up that meme probably sitting somewhere on the couch eating bonbons and ho-hos, 300 pounds of out of shapeness. But yet, hey, you avail yourself to the public and the internet shall win. I thought it was a great commercials. Any particular commercial stood out before we move on? Because I did want to move on to something else in the NFL. Any commercial stood out? 112 million viewers, baby. Yeah. There's your opportunity to advertise and connect with the consumer. Did anybody hit a home run from a commercial standpoint?
I was just really overwhelmed by how many cryptocurrency commercials there were for the entire thing. I thought the LeBron, young LeBron, older LeBron, I thought that was really dope. But it was a little bit of a bite off of what they did with Michael Jordan when they were playing one-on-one. But I was just really surprised, man. Like the amount of crypto, like I've never seen somebody advertise. Like nobody's sitting out here and being like, yo, you should buy more dollars. You should buy more. You should buy more yen. Like, why are you trying to convince me to buy money? Like this whole, it's just feeling very Ponzi schemish. Like, it's been very Ponzi schemish, and they're putting a lot of money. And I'm just really surprised at how much the sports leagues and celebrities are backing the promotion of all of this cryptocurrency, which 90% of the world doesn't even understand, but like 30% of the world's involved. And I'm just fearful that all of this promotion is just, you're gonna have the crypto whales are just gonna pull their money out, laugh all the way to wherever crypto gets held.
Can't even say to the
not
bank.
The bank.
laugh their way to the wallet.
To the blockchain. They're gonna laugh all the way to the blockchain while they scam everybody else. I'm really worried.
Either about that or we're gonna start seeing commercials of people promoting other currencies. We're gonna see that commercial about buy more yen. Right. Double down on the US Treasury.
Right. The funny part about that, we just as long
bonds
as
is where
it would seem so weird if somebody tell you I'm heavily invested in the yen. In the British pound. Like, what? Weird are you?
It's the wave. You got to get on the savings bonds.
Everybody wants to be a part of something new. And I think that the psycho analysis of it is knowing that there's still some uncertainty that also undermines people's belief in something that you can't track as easily as going to the bank. The blockchain is whatever, something that has been connected with, the underworld and criminal activity. I think that's why they invested so much in the marketing. But I agree with you. It did seem pretty weird. And Shane Ellison, great point. NFTs as well. It's like, I think it was more like we have to educate. So, but at that cost, those ads ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Any particular ad commercial stood out to you, Big Flo, before we move on?
Nah, to be honest, I remember the commercials when you guys say them, but like they just kind of go by me. You know what I mean? Like that's when I'm, me, I had to talk a lot. So that's when I talk and get chips and stuff, But I remember the LeBron commercial. I thought that was pretty cool. I wouldn't say I gave it 100% of my attention, but I thought it was kind of cool going back and forth. But I can't even really remember. I'm sure one.
What was the one with the little figurines that jumped through, the football figurines? And what was that? What was the commercial?
That was a good one. It was just a bunch of them. And they had like
a bunch of the little figurines.
Yeah.
It was a remake.
It wasn't that good because you don't know what brand it was.
Hey,
don't you feel like the better the commercial is, the less likely, because that LeBron, I assume it's Nike commercial, but like, I don't know. The better the commercial, the less you remember the product.
Yeah, I'm too busy focused on. But I really liked the one with the figurines and they're playing, and Dion was in it, and it was a remake, but in now a cartoon version. And they're fighting over the football. But I thought it was a good commercial. While the halftime highlighted a genre of music that has spread across the world, but was started and is most notorious with, the Black community, for all intents and purposes. And I imagine Jay-Z had something to do with it. We saw diversity on the stage when it came to the halftime show. Eminem taking a knee was a reminder that indeed the NFL still has some uphill challenges. That was only reinforced this week. Roger Goodell sat down with some civil rights leaders, and he sat down with the National Urban League president, Mark Morial, Al Sharpton from NAN, and Derek Johnson from the NAACP, a whole bunch of civil rights leaders. Dr. Barbara Williams, I want to make sure I mention, he did have one of the leaders, the women leaders from the civil rights space. It seemed weird that in this week, that's what they're doing. And then you look at who the NFL hired for the lawsuit. And you had, Ted Wells. And you have Ms. Lynch and Mr. Wells. It seems as though the NFL is really concerned with the optics.
Well, Loretta Lynch, the Obama administration attorney general, Black woman.
Yeah, so I'm calling just Miss Lynch. The name Lynch itself stood out to me as a hiree, but
we're just gonna roll with Lynch.
Right?
Yeah, this is gonna go great.
This is gonna go great. She's far more notorious. You're right, for being on the Obama administration, for being a Harvard law grad and all that stuff, Harvard undergrad.
But more importantly,
her last
name is Lynch.
They hired Miss Lynch.
Yeah.
Just call me
but they're
Loretta.
two black prominent defense attorneys. Two black prominent defense attorneys in Ted Wells and Miss Lynch.
Did they just become available? Like Brian Flores didn't get that call? Like he wasn't having conversations with them?
Because of their relationship, and I know that Ted Wells worked for a prominent firm. They're defense attorneys, to be fair. Right? They're defense attorneys. So they are more.
So they wouldn't have represented. There's no reason that they would have represented.
I'm not going to say they wouldn't, but they're in their natural element with
Defense.
A prominent firm being a defense attorney, right?
Good background.
So Ted Wells has done other stuff with the NFL. So this is not his first rodeo when it comes to working with the NFL. But it seems as though the NFL is very concerned with the optics, right? To defend themselves against the accusations made against them that there is indeed systemic racism, they went and hired 2 prominent black attorneys.
You got to clap for that. You do. If you are a gamesmanship guy like myself, you have to clap for that.
Here's where people got mad at me when I said Brian Flores has to be out of his rabbit mind to walk into a courtroom or walk in front of the cameras and talk about the complaint that he just filed, class action complaint that he just filed against the NFL against or to combat what he is calling systemic racism, problematic hiring practices. He walks in front of a camera and does a week of media appearances with 2 white attorneys. And I said, you got to be out of your rabbit mind.
But is that not reverse gamesmanship? Like I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, like, as a black person trying to, make accusations or allegations of racism, to have white people standing up and saying this is racist, is there not something to be said about it?
I went back and forth when B said that to me before, and I kept going back and forth because I'm like, you're right. He's just doing whatever. But you are saying to yourself right now, this is the biggest fight of your life. You're giving up your career to make this big fight, and you want to bring the best guns you have possible. If I'm going into a street fight, I'm bringing the baddest dudes I know. I'm not calling just whoever. And you're saying to yourself, the baddest men I know are 2 white dudes, right? And I'm not saying that those aren't the baddest 2 dudes out there to do that case. All I'm saying is, when you're trying to say that you believe that you need the best available, which is what the NFL is doing. They want to hire the best available coach, and you don't see any black people in that thing. It does make you scratch your head. Like,
I feel like even if that's the case, Big Flow Show, to your credit, and you're seeing the challenges and the optics behind what he did. But even on the let's get a little deeper and substantively, if he hired the 2 baddest plaintiff attorneys that he could find, I'm saying you got all the leverage. And your fight is that it's tough to get a job with systemic racism being a part of the NFL. You have all the leverage to tell even those 2 bad attorneys who I don't think that they qualify as that. That's just me. I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
We don't have anything that justifies that point.
Right? What suggests that? But maybe Brian Flores has more intel than I, and he hired the right people. Even if that's the case, you have all the leverage. You gotta tell them, I need you to hire this brother as co-counsel, and he's gonna go with us on this media tour. Or I'm going to also hire a family attorney. People do it all the time. Insert Ben Crump as an example. But we're going to bring a family attorney on as well. I'm going to bring on a consultant, if you will, that's going to handle the PR. That's going to be a brother, and they're going to go on this media tour with us as well. I don't care who you hire.
Yeah. No.
But don't you walk your black behind on all of these TV sets with the whole world watching, and you complaining that the NFL has systemic racism and not giving opportunities to brothers, real opportunities to brothers, without giving an opportunity to a brother. And I said that, and people got mad at me. He's like, oh, well, he strategically. It's like, yo, man, at some point, let's be unapologetic for being excellent in what we do.
So then, but then are we gonna sit here and let me ask the question, and I'm not implying anything. Are we gonna sit here and say that the NFL chose the right people, the most qualified people for the situation, or that there was some optics played into it?
100% optics, and they're winning. And checkmate.
But if it is optics, like is there not something to be said about having some white people speak on your behalf and say this is racism versus black people representing you and saying this is racism? Because people that don't necessarily understand the complexity of racism, like, black people always complaining about racism. That's not as valid as a white person representing somebody. Like I'm just asking, purely asking if it's a reverse gamesmanship concept
They
to say,
did-
I'm going to have white people say it's racist because that shocks people more than a black person saying it's racist because black people know it's racist, and black people saying anything is racist is not news.
I'm saying to you that, first of all, the NFL did both. In their media tour, there were 3 attorneys, 2 of which I have just named,
Right.
that are black attorneys, and then they had a white attorney that
Sure.
I assume works at the same firm.
Right.
I'm saying that Brian Flores missed the opportunity to do both.
For sure.
And I think that from a substantive standpoint, you hire who you think is the best in filing the complaint and arguing and negotiating a settlement. You hire who you think is best, that has a track record for doing that. But I also think that if you're going to ask the NFL or any billion-dollar multinational company to be better in its hiring policies and make sure that there are opportunities for black folk, if you're going to ask them to do that, then how dare you don't do it yourself, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the NFL did both, and you can do both. They hired people that were qualified. No one's going to question whether or not Ted Wells or Miss Lynch is qualified. No one will.
Right.
No one will.
Right.
But they also
check the other box.
optics.
Right. They check the other box as well.
They check the other box. And that's where I'm saying we got to be unapologetic in our own excellence. There are black people, plaintiff attorneys at firms that could have absolutely added substantively to the complaint and to the process that did not get a chance because Brian Flores didn't hire them. And I said this last week and people got mad at me. And then the NFL this week, the same week that they roll out the conversations, a few days, maybe 10 days after the memo, Roger Goodell sits down with the civil rights community full of black folk and then hires, for his defense, for the NFL's defense, not his own personal defense, but the NFL's defense, 2 of the most prominent black attorneys that walking the face of the planet Earth. They check both boxes, substantively,
right,
and from an optic standpoint.
Public court or public opinion. But the irony of this is, like, I'm just envisioning arbitration or whatever process they go through, and you got these white attorneys talking about this is so racist. And then you got these black attorneys be like, no, dog, that's not racist at all.
That's what I was thinking.
Like,
that's why I was like, I had to
America.
clap for NFL because it's such a G move to sit there and be like, you get black people. I mean, Fox News does this every day. Like,
it's more powerful.
Go on Fox News and say something's not racist. Fox will hire you. You're going to get yourself a one-day stick. They won't even check your credentials.
As a black pundit, right?
As a black pundit, you just go in there and say it's not racist, and they'll hire you. Hey, bring him in, and people will love you. I got friends that are on the right that'll send me to say, look, see, I don't know this person's
That's
name.
why Candace Owens. Candace Owens.
The only reason why she can feed herself is because she's willing to go out there, and they want to kill her because she liked the halftime show. I don't know if we don't want to go sidetrack, but she's getting a lot of grief because she publicly liked the halftime show. And said, we didn't hire you to say that. But anyway,
but that's the thing. It's like white people claiming racism is like Little Joker. Black people saying it's not racist is Big Joker.
And for you guys don't get the Spades reference, go learn how to play Spades. And if you don't play Joker, dudes don't call me.
You got plenty of time till there's another cookout.
It's okay. So I think the best thing, Bobby, would have been to just have diversity on his staff. I mean, politicians do it all the time. Anytime you hear a Republican speak, there's a black dude, a Mexican female, an Asian guy, and someone with the nondescript racial background behind them. You don't know who they are. They never introduce them, but they're just standing there. They go get them from central casting and do whatever, and it works. Because later you can say, look. So I think he should have done something like that. He should have had diversity. I think you should get the best lawyers, and you should do what you got to go do. And I think that one of the best lawyers out there in the pool of 50 is a woman. One of the best pool is a black dude. You know what I mean? Like, you can't convince me otherwise because I think everyone's got intelligence. But to Ellis's point, it does. If he goes all black, which is not what you said, but if he goes all black, it just becomes Al Sharpton and them and people deaf ears. So it does have strength when a white dude is sitting out here saying that was racist. That does have strength. But I agree with you. You gotta put some else because they just
representation.
The NFL probably
important.
has 10, 15 white dudes behind them that never get to the screen that are part of it because let's not act like they're thinking in their mind equal opportunity. We're all equal, but they threw some black faces up there, and then they got a team back and telling the black faces what to say. Probably.
I just think that we have to be the change that we seek, and for me, even if it like I'm at the point in my life where Brian Flores is where he wants to be, right? So let me personalize it because Brian Flores, good luck to him. I think that at the heart of what he's trying to do is pure. But I've seen so many professionals because you commented on the graduate degrees that comes with also experience in various industries. I've seen brothers being passed up for opportunities in law firms because of that whole idea that people take care of those that they're most comfortable with in social settings. I've seen brothers being passed up in the finance industry, again, for same reasons, because they just don't get the opportunities. So for me, if I'm in a situation, to hell with what you think. I'm going to hire all black crew. Let's do this because people need to see that qualifications have nothing to do with race. And I'm going to make sure that they're qualified brothers to do the job. So I get that maybe I'm a little tainted because of personal experiences. And this is coming from a very personal space when I say it. So now I try to take a step back and make it less personal. And I still have a challenge understanding why you don't at least have one brother up there. And I said it last week, and people was like, no, you got to hire, you got to play their game. But aren't we saying that the game is rigged? Aren't we saying that the game is foul? Aren't we saying that the game has these rules that should be changed? So the hell with playing their game. That's all I'm saying. And I'll leave it there because they hired not only two people of color, but they hired a woman. While the Washington, Commanders are dealing with issues, the Dallas Cowboys are dealing with issues related to women and harassment claims, they made sure they hired a woman. But she a bad woman. I think at some point we just got to say or admit that maybe if I keep doing it a way that has been the traditional way and succumbing to the pressures of what I think the optics would be regarding, black people just complaining about race, maybe I'm a part of the problem. Maybe I am somehow.
You are part of the problem. Typically, I mean, if we're being fair.
Yeah, we all part of the problem, dog. every dollar in your
Why
pocket.
would you not take the opportunity to double down on that?
I mean, you were getting a little winded. Like I was just slow down.
My bad. You know what? Thank you for the levity. But I just think that we have to make sure that we are not furthering the narrative by being a part of the problem. And so that's where my Brian Flores rant ends. It was interesting to see who the NFL hired. We'll see. And it was also interesting to see that Roger Goodell did sit down with the civil rights community. We'll see. I hope that there's some change that comes about because of this, and we'll go from there. Because seeing Raheem Morris on the sidelines during the Super Bowl, like you started to say, like there's some real good brothers that are coaching and they're doing great things, and I hope they get opportunities. Moving on from the NFL,
I'm talking about like Mike McDaniel. Is that?
He got a lot of categories. It's complicated when it comes to race and Mike McDaniels, but one of them somehow, some way.
So I
way his daddy is black.
I think since they had to give up picks, right? Like I think they should have made him if you're gonna get the picks, like you could pick any song, but it has to be a DMX song, and you have to sing the whole thing uncensored. And if you can get through it without getting punched in your face, then you get the picks.
Right. You need more.
That's the rules. That's the rules. Like we have to do our due diligence.
And when you said you can get through without getting punched in your face, you get the picks. I suddenly figured out what you were talking about. That's so funny. That's so funny. Would you have the confidence to get on the lunch table and say that? If not,
you say every word. You have to say every word. Any DMX song, any single one.
barking and everything.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Get that thing.
You have to say
Say
so
your
word.
voice. Yeah. Let's look, and this just shows you how crazy the sports world is. But let's quickly try to at least discuss what has become the Olympic doping double standard. Because we talked about Sha'Carri Richardson and her failed marijuana test and USADA, U.S. Anti-Doping Agency's handling of that. Her 30-day suspension cost her what would have been a qualifying opportunity for the Olympics, and then, and thus she did not compete in the Olympics. She had an issue with the ROC and their 15-year-old who failed the drug test because of a heart medicine. They're supposed to build endurance. The IOC, International Olympic Committee, allowed her to compete, essentially. And Sha'Carri Richardson had issue with it. And it has now come up sort of as another question as to, are there two different justice systems? We normally talk about it in the world, but let's talk about it on a global stage. Are there two different justice systems on display when it comes to this handling of two women athletes, both young, who failed drug tests, both failed drug tests because of different banned substances. But one you would say is, I think that when you look at the two, one's definitely a performance enhancing drug, one's not, but both banned substances. One young lady, Black, Sha'Carri Richardson, the other 15-year-old, whatever her name is, I can't say her name, from the ROC is white. What did you guys think, man? Or are we making something out of nothing here? Again, is it more about the optics of it? There are factual differences, but there are a lot of factual similarities. One person was able to compete, one was not. And you see here in the country, people defending this 15-year-old saying, yeah, but, it's the adults. On my page, I posted and say, yeah, but, she's 15 years old. So she shouldn't be responsible for what she ingests. But, Sha'Carri Richardson was 19. She had just turned 20 when she failed the drug test. And, her mother just died. So it just seems as though one person who happens to be of a lighter hue gets a lot more understanding than the other person who looks a lot more like the three of us in terms of her pigmentation. I tee it up there for a quick conversation. What do you guys say?
So a couple things, just one for context and to show how even crazier this is, right? Like, so originally there was a suspension because of, they found this performance enhancing drug or a violation of the doping policies, and the Russian anti-doping agency basically waived it. Then the IOC, the World Anti-Doping Agency, and the International Skating Union appealed the lifting of the ban, and it was rejected so that she could still perform. Right. So there's a difference there, because Sha'Carri. So what you learn about Sha'Carri Richardson is, as you know, in growing up in any community that has general perceptions of the police, don't say nothing. Don't admit to nothing, right? Like, she admitted it. She was like, yeah, I smoked a little joint. And they're like, cool, you did it, you're done. Like, if she had just not admitted it, maybe it would have been delayed a little bit based on the timing. She could have appealed it. It could have, it could have been something. Obviously,
she could have said it was her granddaddy's weed. Like,
she could have said, yeah, she could have said. I mean, there were plenty of people. Like, I think Michael Phelps. I was at a party and somebody was there smoking. And
what are the muffins used to have
the poppy seeds?
Poppy seeds, right? So
there's all different things, right? So that's crazy. The other part of it that's crazy is they're like, you could compete, but if you win a medal, nobody gets a medal.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to go through the ceremony until this is resolved.
We're not going to have a ceremony.
Wait, that's what they said to the Russian girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
If she would have been she ended up not being in the top three. Yeah, but she would have been one of the top three. They would not have done the ceremony.
Even for the people that are not from Russia,
nobody would have gotten a medal until they right. So
it just seems as though
they bent over backwards to accommodate this situation with Sha'Carri Richardson. They clearly were just trying to make an example. I think all in all, the timing, like the fact that you could strip away 4 years worth of work from somebody for a failed drug test makes it hard. Like that, it does the punishment fit the crime? That's the hard thing. And then maybe they have to classify different substances. One is performance enhancing. One might be illegal, which gets you a probation or something like that. Because the idea of THC, what'd you say?
There are some.
Yeah,
there are some that say that it could have been used to mask other drugs.
That the THC could have
THC, right? I failed the drug test because of THC, right? Therefore, it masked other things. But that's so hypothetical, right? Like
mask what though? What I'm not aware of the chemical.
It's used to mask a performance enhancement drug. I'm just saying that what the rumors were. I'm not saying that was true, but there are some that say, yeah, well, if you fail from a THC is such a prominent thing in your system that then becomes the trigger for the failed drug test.
Those people don't know how drug tests work.
Right. Like, they test for all
drugs. You're on steroids and you smoke weed, you still have steroids in your system.
I'm just repeating it because
when they spin that thing, the steroids go higher than the weed. Or I don't know how it works, but it doesn't work like that.
I'm just repeating
Otherwise, everybody would just do something stupid.
That was the philosophy people were using to say. But that was the philosophy people were saying. Don't minimize it because she could have been using it to mask. Like that was
the same people.
If that's the case, every horse in the Kentucky Derby would be testing positive for weed.
The rider was
edible.
Yeah, right. Mask all of this other
Sha'Carri Richardson, though, she could have done the Olympics. Was it the U.S. or the IOC? No, because remember at one point we thought she was going to come for the relay. Did they disqualify her because she didn't run in the prelims?
I think that you still had to be eligible at the time of the World Championships. Her problem was she won the national. She won the U.S. but during that 30-day suspension, there was another qualifier. So she was never in the qualifier. But the stipulation, I think, for the relay was you had to at least have competed in that meet to then qualify for the Olympics. So she was screwed all the way around. She couldn't compete in individual races. She couldn't compete in the relay. And all in all, it was because of weed. Yet you've got this 15-year-old that not only had every exception granted to her on the world stage and allowed to compete in this Winter Olympics, but here in the States, you see, at least in my post, I see people defending her as more of a victim because she was 15 years old. She didn't know what she was ingesting. The adults are to blame, while saying that Sha'Carri Richardson is different, right? Like, where's the line? There are 15-year-olds that are charged as adults in our criminal system, right? And Sha'Carri Richardson was literally 19. She had just turned 20, right? 19, just turned 20 when she failed her drug test, right? So I just don't know where the line is drawn. And then, and people say it shouldn't always be about race, but
black and white. That's where the line is drawn.
I think
people want you to not say that, but how do we not?
You know what? You can avoid it because it's a painful topic. Sometimes it gets to seems old to people. I always tell people, if it seems old to you, imagine how old it seems to us. But it's true. At the end of the day, she's a kid. It was her grandpa. I mean, the excuse. This is why I agree with you on Sha'Carri Richardson, where honesty does not pay. I mean, like people who say that to you are liars, right? They want you to be honest with it. Honesty doesn't pay. If they can't prove it, you didn't do it. Deny. That's the way. That's the American way. It should be, because she admitted it. She's done nothing good like that. Michael Phelps. I can't even remember how his was, but I didn't smoke weed. I happen to know people that hung out Michael Phelps. He smokes.
Don't you tell nobody. Don't you snitch on this show.
And look here, Michael Phelps don't need me. He ain't worried about me. He ain't worried about the people listening to this show. Michael Phelps kicking it. He doing his thing. Greatest swimmer, greatest Olympian of all time. Anyway, but he's smoking a weed. You know what I mean? Right. Something got to relax. Something got to give. And you think deal. But you say I didn't smoke it. I didn't inhale. President Clinton, I smoked. I didn't inhale it though. I just let it touch my lips a little bit. Nothing. But she said she smoked weed. Who cares if your mama died? You out. You done. She killed herself. They said that she cross-contamination because her grandfather picked her up from practice. Would he take the pills and rub it all on his lips and kiss her? And come on, man. I take blood pressure medication. I do not think my kids are going to test positive for the blood pressure medication. I mean, that's pretty safe to say.
The level of ridiculousness is crazy, but it just, and look, Michael Phelps, we're talking about his post-Olympic life is set. Every brand in the world would align themselves with Michael Phelps. And because of the very limited, time-sensitive nature of the platform of being an Olympic athlete, the impact on Sha'Carri Richardson from a long-term standpoint is almost immeasurable, right? To be a 20-year-old competing, I think she would have been 21, actually. 21, whatever, 20, 21 years old, competing in the Olympics as an American sprinter during a dearth where we've been needing an American sprinter to step up and compete with the Jamaicans. Here we have this young lady that had won the hearts of the track fans across the world, and she doesn't get an opportunity to compete. She's a footnote, and footnotes don't cash in. So the impact on her, and again, not to get too deep, but the levels and the domino effect of it, you've taken what was air quote cash cow from a marketing standpoint and taken that opportunity and killed it. How does she develop opportunities and create a wealth provider from her athletic prowess when you snatch this from under her in the heart of her career? It just seems unfair.
She could have been straight if she wouldn't have got walked by them Jamaicans in the next in the Worlds like a couple weeks later. It looked like that weed was a performance-enhancing drug because she got walked.
It enhanced the Jamaicans. That's what it did. It enhanced their results, not her own. Let's talk about this whole Simmons-Harden trade, the impact of it before we move on quickly into other NBA news, because it is All-Star Weekend. You know where they hosting it at. In the land, baby, Cleveland. I wish I'd have kept all my contacts, man. I used to throw some nice little groovy sets in Cleveland, man. I wish I was throwing the parties in Cleveland. Because this is, I think, the first big event, Super Bowl, and then now, because the Super Bowl, you saw pictures, people didn't even have a mask on. But now the All-Star Weekend is starting to feel a little closer to normal, right? People flying into Cleveland, they about to party. So we got to talk about All-Star Weekend. But before we do, the 76ers looked good last night without James Harden. Brooklyn has struggled. Their big three, none of them are playing.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
Kyrie is still not playing at home games. And Adam Silver came out and spoke up, basically talking to the mayor. Hey, Mr. Adams, the mayor of New York City, what's going on, man? This doesn't make sense. You let visiting players come in that aren't vaccinated and play in New York. Kyrie couldn't play against the Knicks, although technically the Nets were the away team. It's not making a lot of sense now when you start looking at the rules. Charles Barkley last night called it the dumbest rule ever known to mankind. It's like, this just don't make sense.
Wait, but hold on. So if the Nets play the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, can Kyrie Irving play?
No, he wasn't allowed to play. This happened this week.
But he's an away team.
He was not allowed to play against the New York Knicks.
But if Jason Tatum's unvaccinated and goes to Madison Square Garden,
he can play.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, in our world it does. But I think that some of this stuff is going to be lifted. Some of the bans and restrictions are going to be lifted. So we're going to see more of Kyrie.
I mean, we coming out of this COVID stuff. They're taking masks away. My kids went to school with no mask this week. They're taking nationally. They're talking about getting away with the mask. Now it's just political. Now it's political. This is how we lose votes.
Who do you think we talked about who won the trade, but you look at the aftermath and sort of what's going on. What do we think the impact is going to be? It's simple and plain, because I've been on record saying that I think Ben Simmons added to the middle of a Kyrie and a KD is the perfect bridge between those two. You got a defensive player that can guard 1 through 5, that is not ball dominant, that looks to distribute and be a floor general as a very large, but But as a point guard, he's just a big point guard. I think he's the perfect bridge. And then I looked at Joel Embiid. I think he scored 42 last night. I had a big game. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And you look at how he's performing, MVP level. And I wonder whether or not, and again, I should have just withheld my opinion, but I've offered it now. But I wonder if whether or not a ball dominant James Harden makes Joel Embiid better or not. And we can ask on both sides of the trade, what do we think the impact is? Quick minute and a half opinion, and then we'll move on.
I mean, I think hands down, it's still the Nets. The Nets came up crazy. They got another sharpshooter with Seth Curry. Joe Harris is coming back. If they don't need Harden, as long as they got a healthy Durant and Kyrie on that court, like, and then you got Ben Simmons, who does not need to ever shoot the ball ever. Like, will do everything else but shoot the ball, and that's all they need to do is get everything else done. He can play defense the whole game, shut down and play opposing. But we won't know because he's not going to play for another month. Harden may not play for another month. I think the main factor is Seth Curry and the picks. Like, Philly, they definitely banked a lot on James Harden, who generally isn't healthy. And also, he left multiple situations now because the offense didn't run through him in the way that he wanted it to. And then the idea that you're going to go to Philly, where everything runs through Joel Embiid and the whole organization is trying to make him happy, then that they're chasing the championship and they're going to put the pieces around him. And you got to hope that James Harden is going to be happy playing whatever role Doc Rivers designs for them to exploit. It'll be tough to see.
You did see James Harden's impact on Tyrese Maxey last night. I mean, he went bananas, and even some of the moves looked like, they talked about on the broadcast how he's been spending time after practice with James Harden. Tyrese Maxey, a young player. I think James Harden's impact is going to go beyond just the court. He's going to have an impact on the younger players.
Yeah,
Maxey
the strip clubs, the gentlemen's clubs,
right? both
far-reaching impact,
positive and negative. Big Flow Show. What say you before we hop to this last
agree.
topic?
I think Philly won big time. I think both of them. I mean, they got Steph Curry. He's going to be playing. He's going to do well for the team.
You think Philly won, and ETP, you think Brooklyn won?
No, I think Brooklyn won.
Oh, you think Brooklyn? Okay, I think
Brooklyn won because I mean, it wasn't like the Nets had James Harden anyway. I mean, he never played. So I mean, there's some win-win in this because they both traded players that aren't playing, right? The future stars. But I think when the impact comes in, I'm an anti-Harden guy. I think he's a stat machine, but I look at him the same way I look at my man Westbrook. They're stat guys that can't win games, and they're detrimental to the cohesiveness of a team. They have no chemistry. Things don't work. They either have the ball and they're scoring, or they're doing nothing. So to me, I think finally he's going to play in a situation where they're not looking for him to shoot, and this is Ben Simmons. They're not going for him to shoot. He'll happily not shoot, and now he's got two shooters out there with Curry and Durant that are going to be able to shoot the lights out, and he could just come in there and just play the way he wants to. And if you have no pressure on a guy like that, a no expectation role from a standpoint of he's never going to have the game on his shoulders, he's going to be so good in that situation. All his anxiety is going to be gone. So the Nets just got to make the playoffs. I couldn't believe when I saw they're in like 8th place.
I mean, they lost 11 out of the last 12. I think, but just as quickly as you can lose 11 out of 12, when you get the three together, you can win 11 out of 12. And there's a lot of the back nine.
But we getting there. All-star break.
But I also think that this is to their design, right? Kyrie can only play away games, so they're like,
for now, if that changes, I think their approach changes.
Then they go undefeated.
All-Star weekend. Let's wrap it up with this. All-Star weekend. I don't know who's your favorite for the dunk contest. Who's your favorite for the three-point contest? Anybody stand out? Who do you think is going to win? Is going to be LeBron's team or KD's team? I like LeBron's team. If you look at LeBron's team, it's pretty solid. And LeBron's going to play. KD's not. So that in itself means to me, top two players in the NBA, one's playing, one's not. So I'm giving the nod to LeBron's team. And KD, I think, was a bit petty in how he picked it and making sure he didn't pick up James Harden. So I'm always picking substance over petty. So I think LeBron's team wins it, but I love seeing KD being petty. I mean, he literally left James Harden on the board and was like, no, I got to go with size. I'm going with Rudy Gobert. Yes.
I'm going to go with the guy who started COVID.
Right. I'm going with Rudy Gobert. And he said it deadpan with a straight face. Like, he didn't even smile. He's like, yeah, it's just two people on the board. Everybody else is laughing except KD. Loved it. Yeah. So I think I got to go LeBron's team, but
I need LeBron's team too.
Yeah.
And I think Zach LaVine's in the 3-point contest. I want him to win it too.
The All-Star game seems so much more watchable. We talked about this in the Pro Bowl. They've got it right. So I'll be tuned in. Cleveland rocks. Go ahead, Cleveland. Take advantage. The dunk contest, Obi Toppin from the Knicks, Jalen Green from the Rockets, Cole Anthony from the Magic, Juan Toscano Anderson from the Warriors.
None of y'all heard of him.
I watched the Warriors. He plays.
I'm just angry.
He does. And he's athletic.
I'm angry that Anthony Edwards is not in the dunk contest. But
he's a star though, man. He is,
but like, yo,
he's a star now.
Like he jumps over somebody at least once a season. Over.
Yeah.
Like,
it would have been a great way for him to really show that he felt like he was slighted on the All-Star game, but I mean, that's the trend. Stars aren't in the dunk contest anymore.
Yeah.
The days of Dominique and Mike going at it are over.
It's just silly because all they got to do is up the payout, right? Like, there's just got to be some type of additional incentive. But yeah, I mean, but then the 3-point contest is becoming, super exciting. But and we got Karl Anthony Towns in the 3-point contest, a 7-footer in a 3-point contest. Like,
let's give them the rundown.
So
who you got dunk contest? Who you got winning last minute or so before we get out of there? Obi Toppin, Jalen Green, Cole Anthony, or Juan Toscano Anderson. Who you got winning dunk contest?
I got Obi Toppin dunk contest. I got Patty Mills 3-point contest. He scored 40 points in the Olympics in the semifinal game.
3-point contest is Fred VanVleet, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard from the Clippers, Zach LaVine from the Bulls, CJ McCollum from the Pelicans. Now got traded on a trade deadline. Patty Mills from the Nets, Karl Anthony Towns from the Timberwolves, and Trae Young from the Hawks. Yeah. Obviously VanVleet from the Raptors and Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies. Who you got winning the 3-point contest? You going with who?
Exactly.
I got Patty Mills. Man. I'd love to see Karl Anthony Towns. It's hard to bet against Trae Young, but I think it's going to be Patty
college.
I think Trae Young wins it and hopefully draws more stars into these All-Star Weekend demonstrations and events. I hope he does. I hope he wins it. Come on, win it for us, Trae.
Give me Juan Anderson for the dunk contest just because to respect him because I didn't know who he was.
I'm going with Jalen Green, the perfect perimeter wing. I think you got size and athleticism. I wanted to go with Cole Anthony in the guard. I think I'm going with Jalen Green to win the dunk contest. All right. Look, man, this is the Hangover
Antetokounmpos for the skills challenge. The family of Antetokounmpos are going to play in the skills challenge.
2 brothers together.
3.
Yeah, the skills challenge. All 3 of them. Is it all? Oh, yeah, that's all 3 of them. Yeah. I didn't realize that the 3rd one was going to be invited, but all right. Good to see. This has been the Hangover episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We talked about a lot of things today. We did the Super Bowl recap in depth. I know we are a full 5 days removed from the Super Bowl, but one of the best Super Bowls after one of the best playoff runs, after one of the best NFL seasons in recent memory. So we did the recap. So please check that out. We did talk about Aaron Donald. Is he the greatest of all time from a defensive lineman standpoint, or maybe let's go even further from a defensive player standpoint? A lot of spirited debate there. We did not get into Matt Stafford as a Hall of Famer, but we promise to get into that next week. The Olympic doping scandal is mind-boggling when you compare the 2 accounts with these 2 young ladies. I don't know how we get beyond it. And, that was on the heels of talking about the NFL and its diversity issues. I don't know how we get beyond it, but hopefully we do. In this Hangover episode, it's because of the hangover that we all have because football is behind us. Officially now. It's because of the hangover that we have because of our 2 Aquarius brothers and their birthday celebration. Like we do with any hangover, take a few pills, drink you some water, and get ready for next week. With the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Like we ask you every week, kindly and humbly, please like, comment, share, tag your friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to the podcast. This is where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Myself, I am B Brown ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth South, aka Mr. Success Celebration, aka Barazy. I got joined by the crew, ETP, Ellis the producer, and the Big Flow Show. We only do it one way, rough, rugged, and raw. So make sure that you join us next week. We'll be coming to you again with some riveting sports, business, entertainment. And with that, we is out. Peace.